Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Board of Directors for Pinecrest Village. The time is now 1:01 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If somebody close that door, I got it.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Okay, we have proof of notice both in three ways: email, bulletin board, and the village sign, the village notice board. Proof of quorum: 4 directors are present. 1 director sent me an email. He's still having issues with his father, so he will not be here. Okay, president's remarks. What a night last night was. After yesterday's meeting, I understood what people were saying when the agenda items say approve. This is what I was taught by HP in order to get a item up for vote. You put approve on there, but not accepting what anybody said. I went and did research. And I want to read a brief statement to you. For the past year plus serving on the HP main board, when presenting a motion, it was required the motion begin with approve. This presented issues since it appeared the results were predetermined. Our parliamentarian didn't tell us that, I found this out, but contrary to what the wording or the word approve states or indicates, indicates a bias, but this has been the required format whenever we present an agenda item for the main board. After doing some research on both the parliamentary procedure and Robert's Rules of Order, this may not be correct. Therefore, from this point forward, the Pinecrest Board shall follow what I believe is the correct order or guidelines. I realize this is more complicated and convoluted, but for the sake of following rules correctly, we shall abide by the accepted format. And I gave each one of the directors a copy of Robert's Rules of Order, which is the guidelines for presenting an agenda item, even though the agenda items have to be on the agenda 48 hours prior to the notice of the board, 48 hours in advance of the meeting. But this is this is from parliamentary procedures.
Right.
Okay, the ABCs of it. How do I present a motion? Here's what you do when it's your turn to speak. First, you obtain the floor. Wait until the last speaker is finished. Rise and address the chair. Say, Mr. or Madam Chairperson, or Mr. or Madam President. Give your name. The chair will recognize you by repeating it. Make your motion. State clearly and concisely. State the motion affirmatively. Say, I move that we, instead of I move that we do not, which sort of ties in with approve versus disapprove or bring it to a vote. Avoid personalities and stay on subject. Wait for a second. Another member will say, I second the motion, or the chair will call for a second. If there is no second, the motion will not be considered. Chair states your motion. The chair must state it is moved and seconded that we, and then they will restate the motion. After this happens, debate or voting can occur. Your motion is now assembly property, and you cannot change it without consent of the members. Expand on your motion. Mover is allowed to speak first. And this is, you'll hear the motion is stated, and then they will get a second, and then the person that's presenting the motion will state their background information on the motion. Okay, direct all comments to the chair. Keep to the time limit for speaking, which we're not going to do. We're actually, the time limit, get your point across, don't repeat yourself, but get your point across. We're going to give you time to do that. You may speak again after all of the speakers have finished. This is actually directed at the board members right now. You may speak a third time by a motion to suspend the rules with a 2/3 vote. And we'll go into that in just a second. Robert's rules actually allow you to suspend the rules of Robert's Rules and parliamentary procedure. putting the question. The chair asks, are you ready for the question? Which means, are you ready to vote on it? Discussion will terminate if everybody says yes, we're ready to vote on it. One thing I do like that HP does is the residents will allow to make comments once the board of directors have finished with their discussion. They can make comments. It's not question time. It's making comments about what they feel. If there is no more discussion, or if the motion is to stop debate is adopted, in other words, if somebody stops the debate, that means a director says, I move to call the question. At that point, discussion is ended. There is no more discussion, and a vote is asked for at that point. The chair announces the results. So that's parliamentary procedure. I gave them the guidelines. These are more things. It goes to the same thing. Robert's Rules has exactly the same rules, or same order that we just now went through. So this is what we're going to do instead of saying approve, because it does indicate some bias as to whether the item has been discussed on the outside. And if you look at the HP guidelines, all the formats, whenever they bring an agenda item forward, I've got one of them here for a meeting. It's to approve 2 liaisons, but it starts out approve so-and-so as liaisons for this committee. It's not. It's all it means is it's bringing the question up. It's not supposed to produce a bias. And so that was my night last night, looking up these things, and it was fun. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. That's my comments. Unfinished business, there is none. New business. And we shall start with Robert's Rules of Order right off the bat. And that is because we're going to change the wording on it. Where'd I put it? I had it. There we go. Okay. The first motion. Under Robert's Rules, Section 12, I move to amend the motion by, and this is the amendment, I move to terminate the contract at first available date with Community Management Services Incorporated as the association's management team for Pinecrest Village of Heritage Ponds Incorporated. That is the motion. Is there a second?
Read it again, please.
I move to terminate the contract at first available date with Community Management Services Incorporated as the association's management team for Pinecrest Village of Heritage Ponds Incorporated. Is there a second? No second, the motion is dead. I call for an adjournment.
I'd like to make a motion.
It's not on the agenda.
Okay, all right.
Why can't this be discussed?
You have to have a second to discuss it. I just got through reading through that.
So it hasn't been voted on yet, I'm sorry.
No.
Well, he just tried to vote on it, but
Okay.
there's
No,
nothing,
I
I
did
don't
not
understand.
ask. No,
Just restate your motion.
the motions, you can't continue to bring up a motion. A second
Well,
was
I don't
asked
think
for.
everyone understood all those rules that you
Right,
read.
I mean, you
In
don't give us a
layman's
copy of these
terms,
rules to read.
Right.
Okay, I would like to open the floor to discussion on that
No,
motion.
let me go through it again.
So it's your
The
way
chair
of
states the
operating.
motion. The chair says it is moved, or I'm sorry, go back, wait for a second. Another member will say, I second the motion. Okay, if the chair will call for the chair will call for a second. If there is no second, your motion is not considered. Period.
Well, then your motion is phrased wrong. Because your motion is to terminate community management without any discussion at all.
No, it does.
Oh, yes, it is. It
No.
says, I'm motioning to terminate community management.
That is the motion.
And if we second it, then you're saying, then we're done. We're
No,
we
it's,
have to vote on
no,
it.
that is not
Oh, you have
true.
to vote on it.
Listen to what I'm saying. If you get a second after a motion is made, I can motion that we put a big bubble over at Pinecrest Village.
Okay.
If there's no second or there is a second, we can discuss it. If they can discuss, if there's a second. If there is no second, that motion is dead.
Okay.
Okay? And then after you get a second, then you give the background information on it.
Okay.
So,
But I think,
So-
I think maybe we should backtrack and
Start a new meeting.
and discuss it.
Because we didn't understand.
Yeah, I think it needs to be discussed, so whatever we have to do, we'll do. You wanna have another meeting, or just end it and,
Well, no, then we'll bring up another rule of Robert's Rules of Order. Jenny, you gotta follow these rules, okay?
Though
Because if you
nobody's
don't-
followed them for how many years? Now all
I'm
of a
so-
sudden, you
all
don't even give
because-
us a copy of it.
All because it wasn't followed doesn't mean it was done right. Okay? If you find out, under directors and officers insurance, if you inadvertently do something wrong, you're protected. If you intentionally do something wrong, you're liable. Okay?
Okay.
And that's why I went through the time to discuss parliamentary procedure and read through what is required in order for you present the motion. The motion previously was stated, approve changing the association's management team from community management services to Heritage Pines. That's actually, the wording in there is two motions inside of one motion. And we're changing it, that's why I went over the discussion.
Can I say something?
I went through there and I said, it says, I move to, and that's when I said, to terminate the contract at first available date with Community Management Services Incorporated as the association's management team for Pinecrest Village of Heritage Pines. I asked for a second, I did not get one. Now, you said, can we have another meeting about this? By Robert's Rules of Order, and again, I learned this the hard way. It took me a year to go through this. You can represent a motion or a decision. Example, Reserve Control Committee. They had a motion they put forward, and they voted on it. The vote was tied 2-2 as far as going back to buying the glasses. 2 members said they didn't want to do it. 2 members said they did want to do it. They brought the motion back up again the next month. Another board member was in there, and he challenged them bringing it back up by revisiting it, because by Robert's Rules of Order, in order to represent a motion, you have to be in the prevailing party. You cannot be on the losing end of it. You can't, if you lose month after month after month, it does not mean that you can bring the motion back up again. You have to be the prevailing party. In this case, there was no prevailing party, so that was one of the gray areas of Robert's Rules, because it was a 2-2 tie. It didn't pass, it didn't fail. And that's why they were allowed to bring it back up, and then they got an affirmative vote. In Robert's Rules, and also parliamentary procedure, if there is no second, the agenda item is dead. There's no more discussion about it, it's done.
Now, can I say something?
Sure.
I understand, and I give you credit for doing all of this research and background, but I don't think anybody really understood what you were saying. So,
Okay.
the whole thing was,
Particularly your board members, I
right,
think
your
Okay.
board members didn't even
what
understand
you
what you were
were saying.
saying. I don't know when you got all this information, but you have to have time to digest
What
all
you
of that
said.
stuff that you read yesterday and went over and over. Nobody else got that.
If y'all want to, we can suspend the rules.
I want to hold a meeting
I'd
like
like
we've
to move
always
that
held
we
a meeting.
suspend the rules.
Yes, I second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion about this?
About what?
About
Suspending
suspending the
the
rules
rules.
by Robert's Rules? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will suspend the rules and we will go back and revisit the question. Okay?
all right.
The motion is move to terminate the contract at first available date with Community Management Services Incorporated as the association manager for Pinecrest Village of Heritage Ponds.
I second it.
Okay, now it's up for discussion, and now I give you my background. This is from the contract from Community Management Services that was entered into on March the 6th on 2013. The agreement may be canceled by either party by providing 30 days written notice with or without cause. The canceling party may give written notice to the other parties giving the 30-day notice of cancellation. Any cancellation date will coincide with a month-end period to facilitate smooth transition for financial statement purposes. All obligations arising under this agreement shall be null and void except as provided in section 8 and 13 hereof. And that talks about that. Now that's the reason why part of the motion was at first available date. We have to give them 30 days if we vote on this, and then it goes to the end of the month, so it is a smooth transition. So that means the first available time, if we voted on this, is that we would have to. It would be July. It would be July the 31st would be the termination of community management services, and August the 1st would be the replacement company. Okay? So, that's the background on it. Now open it up for board discussion.
Okay, my take on this, of course, I haven't lived here that long, but I'd say Kim Johnson, I'm gonna use her as the same as saying associate management team.
Let's go right, I know we
Or
suspended
community
rules, but
management
very good.
services.
Let's not get personal,
Okay,
it's
okay.
community, it's
Community
a,
management services. In my take, okay, just in my case alone, she got buku money for the community from the house I bought, to the tune of almost $20,000, which was, that's why we have such a good reserve right now in our community versus the other ones. I don't have enough background to say that she's doing a good job. I say, let's go for another year and at least see what's going on and not change right away. I think, secondly, I think it's kind of good to have another management company that's not so tied in with Heritage Pines that they're taking control of everything. And that's my own take.
okay. Roy or Jenny?
Go ahead.
The contract with community management, that's good till February.
Of 2016,
16.
February the 28th, I believe.
So between now and then, I think we can deliberate over whether we want to change or we don't want to change and why. We can discuss it as we go
Correct.
along. And, because I don't have an opinion right now.
Okay. Alright.
But I would like to know why we should replace her and what they're doing or not doing, and before I can even have an opinion, that's all.
Jenny?
I have my speech written.
Okay.
Okay. The people of this community voted for me to represent the community and do the best that I could to serve the community, not serve me. I live here just like everybody else. I want my yard taken care of. I want everything taken care of, and I want to know a person I can call if I have a problem that will take care of that for me. And Kim, on the whole, does it. Does she piss some people off? Yes, she does. We're all human. We all make mistakes. To my knowledge, nothing has been written to her, or really even vocally said to her personally, that your company's not doing this. You're not, you're making us angry. We're not getting answers on this. Like Bill said, she's brought a lot of money into us that I'm not sure another community management service would go to the bat for it. I think a lot of them wash their hands and say, there's nothing we can do. We've got a really good reserve. Anything big comes up, we've got the money to cover it, and that's because of her. So I'm with Roy. She's got a contract until February. It's not that far away. I think we should tell her, these are the things that are making us angry. Fix them. We're giving you an opportunity to fix them. And if it's not fixed, then come January, we've got 2 months to try to find another company or go with HP. But I also agree, we don't need HP doing every little thing. We got enough stuff that HP tells us to do. That's my feeling.
Okay. Now, I thought about this last night. Kim has done a lot of good things for the community. She has been lax in a few things. In our master declaration, it says the board president, and I went back and looked, and Joan did sign the previous contracts. All contracts have to be signed by the board president. We just got through with tree trimming. This is probably an oversight on her part, not something she intentionally did, but there was no contract signed. There was a quote given to us, but no contract was signed, and the person that would sign that would be me. And so it was probably, like I said, I don't think there was any malice involved there. And sometimes you have to get the attention of somebody, and so they realize your displeasure in some of the things that are happening, and they will correct themselves. I have sent emails to her company on residents approaching me and saying I would like to get this done, and instead of them having to go through it, I've just shot off an email to their company, and sometimes with results, sometimes without results. Financially, Kim has made a difference for this community and our standing. Okay, there have been some deficiencies, but I was inclined today not to bias any of the board members, is to vote to keep her. Okay, and I think what I'm hearing today, I'm going to hear a unanimous vote to keep her today. So with that being said, is there any other further discussion of the directors? Okay, any resident comments?
I'd like to know what brought about all this. I haven't heard anything about
Right,
why
me too.
this actually came about. And you brought up about a contract. As board president, did you ask her for a contract for the tree trimming?
It's as a licensed community association manager. She's obviously knows what was required, because she probably produced the contracts for you to sign on different things with Stansberry and with Ryan's.
Well, I asked occasionally
But
for a contract.
she is the legal beagle that we go to. Things that
Wasn't it
we-
your job as board president to
I
make
can't
sure we
know
had
everything
that?
that's in there. It took me a while. I just got this director's manual, the book, without community management's contract in there. When I specifically asked for that, I got community management's contract yesterday, but prior to that, I got this book about 3 weeks ago, and I'm not going to spend every night of my life reading through this book. It will put you to sleep. The Master Declaration, you can go find things, but we're amateurs. We are unpaid people, and we rely on professional people that are paid to direct us in the right direction and do things that are required.
So I haven't heard an answer to my first question. What brought this all up?
A couple things. Economics. We're currently paying community management services $8.21 per house. Where Heritage Ponds is offering their contract with the same services at $7.50 a house. Also, based on my discussion with the LCAMs in Heritage Ponds, they don't charge the miscellaneous fees that are included in our budget, which amounts to, hang on just a second and I will tell you. Where is it? Office administrative expenses, $1.76 per home. Community management charges that, and HP does not. So that means the difference right there is about $1.50 per home in dues. Additionally, there have been some deficiencies. Again, she is the professional, and we expect her to give us the proper guidance. So,
It's $225 a house.
okay, $225 a house. Okay,
So 225 times 80 is
what time's 74?
74. I can multiply
Times-
times 80 easier, so.
It
So
amounts.
it's $160 a month?
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know.
Alright.
It's news to me. So $1,800 a year difference.
Right. So there is an economic thing. I also solicited responses from other communities with the same questionnaire. And it says, I'm reaching out to each village president currently with HPCA and asking the following: how happy are you with HPCA as the community manager? How responsive are they to requests for residents about issues? How was your previous association manager? Economically, how would you compare HPCA rates to the previous association? change can always be challenging when you make changes such as the contractor's lawn maintenance, fertilization, irrigation, or the bank or the association manager or insurance. How satisfied with you is HPCA taking care of everything? And then finally, HPCA offers two rates. One where the village deals with the contractor, the other where the HPCA staff deals with the contractors. Would you recommend one over the other? That was the questions that I sent out. And of the 7 villages, I got a response from 5 of them. But
So the price you quoted is with HP dealing with the vendors or without the?
Correct. That is dealing with the vendors.
And does HP come to meetings?
yes,
Okay.
they do everything just about like Kim does.
I know we had interviewed them before.
Yeah, and
at
they were
that time
more expensive at the
They
time.
were more expensive, and they did not do that. They did not work with the vendors, they did not attend meetings.
That's why they offer 2 contracts. Now they have 2 contracts, one with the vendors and one without the vendors. And the with the vendors, this is a copy of the one with the vendors at $750 per unit, and one without the vendors, where you deal with each one of the vendors. And honestly, we have.
Well, who's this, excuse,
But it
who's
says
this?
they'll only come to 4 meetings a year.
Well, and how many meetings do we have a year?
Well, so far we've had 1 month.
Yeah. And 2, who knows, just like the cutting the trees, we went to one guy and he said this and this, and we finally we told the one guy wasn't responding, then we went to the other guy and said, hey, this guy will do it cheaper, will you do it for that? And then he said yes. Who's to say that Community Management Services, if we to go to them in February of next year and say, hey, we can get it for $750, you need to come down in your
Well,
price.
that's what we did
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
We had the quotes there. We brought in, I forgot, one of them was it Pam Washburn and her group, her and her husband? And we agreed strongly to move away from them.
Yeah,
And then there was another one, I thought we were gonna be drilled for about an hour.
right.
They were very aggressive, and we decided to, and we told them this is the bids we have, and
And they
She-
wouldn't do a lot of things also.
right. So we decided to stay with Kim. So, Cliff, you have another question?
No, just an observation. Number one, I think you need to have more information as a board to make an informed decision. Like you said, you need to check out HP. What will they do, what will they not do, and at what cost? You also have time now to go out for bid if you need to do that. Number two, I think we, as a community, owe community management services a specific plan of action to improve performance if performance has not been set down. Exactly what is it? Just to say they're not doing their job is not, that's open for so much interpretation.
Right.
I work for the government. I know nobody in the government
And-
works and you can't fire government people. I did, okay? Because I believe that people need to work for a living, they need to make a performance, and if they don't, I don't fire them, they fire themselves. I just write the things, this is what's needed, and this is what's not happening. And that's a lot of documentation, I understand it. I will offer the board my services to help to do that. But I think whoever represents the management services needs to know specifically what is it that you're looking for, what is it that's deficient, and how do we correct it? And that's only fair.
Okay.
Did you say you got a response from 5 communities
Correct.
regarding Heritage Pines? And what was their response?
They were all favorable,
They were all favorable.
yes. They weren't all I don't know if they were with community management or not.
That's what I was wondering. if
but
there
they were
was-
all
yeah,
favorable.
Who was the service provider?
Yeah,
Yeah, Rick?
It just seems like we're all a little surprised by this
Right.
motion, by this action, and it seems to me like the board is surprised too. Why wouldn't some of this conversation just come up in a previous board meeting?
Because it wasn't on the agenda.
It wasn't on the agenda.
So, and I'm just saying, this is all kind of a shock to,
It was
2
a
board
shock.
members actually approached me about this. And some residents have talked to me about this. And that's the reason why this agenda item came forward.
because it just seems like, we weren't quite
And
prepared.
I am not,
to move
I
forward
am
with
not
this.
the sole authority, I'm a director just like anybody else. And when a board member brings something forward to me and says, I think we need to do this, then it's my duty either to have them present their agenda item or to present it myself. And that's what I've done today. I've done my responsibility to the community and to the board members,
And why do we have to have a special meeting for this?
because it wasn't on the agenda.
For yesterday, you mean?
Correct.
How you doing, David?
So,
Okay, and I think, Jenny, you make a good point. You know,
Something
we're
good?
already into June, we couldn't cancel until August. You know, talk to them, tell them where we need to make improvements, and then, you know, think about renewing their contract in February. To me, that's a good common sense position to take.
all right.
And that's the
I
way
think
it would be done.
we're beating a dog to death right now. I'm calling the question. We just got to talk about that. The question is, I'm calling for the vote. All in favor of this motion, say aye. Okay, the motion is defeated. And now, the motion was to terminate the service with community management,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
okay?
You should have said what the motion was when you called for a vote.
No, it was the only motion on the floor. We haven't had any other motion.
Yeah, well,
We've
we've
been
done a
beating-
lot of discussing.
We've been beating the,
okay?
we've been beating this dog to death. I'm not gonna get into a discussion about it,
I move to adjourn.
okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, all in favor, aye. It's now
Aye.
1:33, the meeting's over.
But now can I just ask a question with the
Sure.
meeting being over?
Sure, yeah. Well, let's
How
bring
do
this
you, how
up.
do you, how do you bring up things that you think you might want done without